Good morning, everybody. Wow.
Morning.
Not used to saying that. How's everybody doing? I'm Kenny. This is Chris, and that's Stephanie. And over there is Marcy. And Chris and Marcy are going for a bike ride later on. Hope y'all are doing great. Spring is in the air. Man, I feel good. It hasn't rained much this month. Kind of happy about that in a short sense of Dolphinado doesn't like rain. But the wind sure is blowing. But spring, it's officially spring. Winter's gone. I don't know what the groundhog, he saw his shadow, but that's for, say, northern. For the north of Georgia.
New England folks.
Right. So, Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man.
Yeah?
Happy to be here.
Yeah?
As always.
Been a good week?
It's always a good week.
Amen.
You know? Any
Amen.
day above ground's a good day.
Amen. Man, I get frustrated. Sometimes we were just talking before we went on that Thursday I took Lucy and did a burnout through the shop because I was frustrated about something and had to get in there and just release. And there wasn't a car around to punch or something. I'd get tired of punching the fences. So I got in Lucy and just let it roast a big old burnout. So it was super cool. So, yeah, good morning, everybody. We do hope that y'all are doing great. We appreciate you tuning in. This is the American Car Classics radio program and podcast, and we've got a lot of stuff going on. We've had a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been busy buying and selling and moving and shaking.
Oh, my gosh.
And you've been busy working on Pearl, but yeah, we talked a week ago about getting in there and buying that 1976 Camaro with the T-tops, that last year's Stingray.
Yeah.
We went out there and talked to a guy and tried to make a deal happen, and we walked away not really getting
expecting
it. He dropped it down to $3,750.
He did. He initially wanted 45.
45. Yeah, he talked to me about 7,500 back
years ago.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, a while back. So he came in and said he wanted to sell this thing, and we talked to that he brought it down to 45. You and I went out to look at it on a Monday, and we didn't make the deal. You and I left, and it was kind of an up and down, back and forth. What are we going to do? And I ended up talking to him during the week and made a deal and went out and picked it up for $3,600.
Which is a good deal. Not that there was anything majorly wrong with the Camaro or the Corvette, and but it was it was a business move. It wasn't a collector move.
No.
At $4,500,
Nope.
It's a great deal if you're a collector and you're going to restore and rehab. But that's not what we were in there for. We were in there to,
right.
Well,
because it ran in
Pawn
drove,
Stars, right?
It wasn't going to. It wasn't. We weren't going to not be able to flip it. But it was, what are you going to do with it? What is the schedule? We know that Dolphin Auto is very busy. We know that Kenny's busy and got a lot of projects already. So how much, as Chris is saying, I've got 2 days on the weekend to come in and try to help out and do. And what are we going to put together and get? And is there going to be a lift open? And you go through all these analytical things that makes you great for everything you do with that. We won't sink or tank on an investment, I don't think, in the future.
We got to hope.
Right. So I bought this and put it right in Marketplace and never touched it, and sold it for $75 to a father and son team out of North Orlando.
Awesome.
Cute.
Yeah, this kid already has a Tacoma or a Tundra that he's driving around at 4 or 5 speed, a 5-speed, and so he's 16 and learned to drive a stick, and so he and his dad, they wanted to build something. He said, I want to build an old Corvette with a 4-speed in it.
I love that for them.
Yeah, I think this is
Bonding time, all of that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because the millennial anti-theft device is a stick shift. So to have that kid want to do a stick in particular.
Man, I think a lot of the Gen Z kids are reincarnations of the Gen X kids. They're getting, they don't want all that fancy stuff and this, that, and the other, and they don't mind stick shifts, and they're not intimidated or scared of them.
I love that there's somebody that wants to get dirty in the world that was allowed to play in a sandbox, maybe even had a little cat poop in it or something one day, but they got to play in it. They got to be, it's just, I talked about the pacification of America. I'm not going to go into it deep, but, I just feel that we have softened up quite a bit and that we need to get tougher, and that trade schools are going away and everything else. And it's not all going to be about computers, because somebody's got to, take care of the house that the computer sits in.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's all of that and getting into it. But we sold that car and did good with it. I actually went on a selling spree, which is strange because we just talked about that I had 40 cars into life of
We're
whatever.
down a few now.
We are down, but we sold, I got rid of 4 and bought back 2. And then sold, I think, 1 more, or sold 3 and then bought 2 and then sold 1 and then got 1 more. And then we just picked up a car yesterday. What'd you get yesterday?
The
1950.
Oh, the 50
Chevy,
Deluxe.
2-door Deluxe.
1950 Deluxe.
Evangeline.
Evangeline. Yeah, from Princess and the Frog. This was a girl, Amanda, that posted this car for sale, and Ken Lynch, our tech over at Dolphin Auto, he shoved this in my face like people. Man, I don't go looking. I'm not looking. I'm not looking. They come.
They find
other people look and they want to. But that's how we got Lucy. I had an employee that I actually just fired, and 4 days later he sent me Lucy, and we got her before anybody else got there. We were first ones to hit it, and man, love that so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it happened. So we did get rid of some cars, and then I did buy some more cars, and they're investment stuff. And I do own maybe a dozen or so, something cool, classic old stuff, whatever. And the other ones are all kind of flip parts, pieces, things, whatever, LS's in them, 4 LEDs and things I buy to build up other cars and doing what. But it was a fun week of actually selling some stuff. Steve was very happy to see me sell some stuff. It did put some extra cash in the pocket and all of that, and then makes you think about what next. So, Chris.
Speaking of what next, what are we going to do with Evangeline?
Well, right. So, look, the talk is cheap, but implementation is...
That's where the money's made.
Now, we talked about, we over there, we got saws.
I cannot wait. I already see a coffee table. I see a booth. There's so many things. When he said we're going to turn this into something, my brain was like,
so I want the hood for an awning over the door. But if you took out the rest of the stuff and you built a corner table, seats, whatever, you could have, this could be a cool little couch, and you see them go around and stuff, and people build couches and do whatever. But
so in short, we're going to chop this thing up and turn it into cool stuff.
It has no floor. It has
it's way too much for us. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I know Kenny is not buying this to
rear
restore.
fenders came with it, all the glass, all the chrome, all of it. So I hate to just throw it away, but
yeah.
Well,
it is way too much.
You can resell the glass and chrome.
We will list some stuff and sell it.
I am turning that glass into a coffee table. Do not give him a selling
the back
point.
Glass.
Okay.
It's got a roll, and she likes. I don't know how, because a cup would to me roll up, but she's got a vision.
I've got a vision.
The windshield is split. Look, steering wheel dash is all intact, Chris.
It's beautiful.
It looks like something that you'd put on a TV set, movie set, where two people are riding in it, and you got the chroma key behind you, and you're like, oh, there goes my donut,
So the green screen in the back.
Yeah, wasn't that your idea for? We'll use it when we go live at locations.
Well,
on location, we'll be in a car for our podcast.
Do you, in all seriousness, people aren't watching nothing. It's just me talking and eating breakfast.
Oh man.
Do you think it could be pulled off that we're sitting in that car during and having people come up and grab headphones off the hood and sit there and talk to us? Or is that it is?
How much money? I mean, anything's
corny.
available with money.
It's not too corny.
No,
Look, it doesn't take money. This is today. We cut the roof and the back behind the doors off, and we put a couple seats in there. I've got plenty of cars to put seats in, and Ken and I can weld this up and we can have it ready for April 6th.
What?
And we can put it right. We can put it right there and sit right in it. Now, there were some baby raccoons born in that car.
That's real.
That's ambitious.
Well, the longer it sits out there, it's going to rain, and the raccoons. This thing smells. So it does smell. She wants baby raccoons because.
She was talking about how they're itty bitty babies going in and out, and I was like, Give me the babies. Give me the babies.
We don't want that.
He told me no.
I don't want either.
I've got rabbits and chickens. I don't need raccoons.
No, you don't.
But what do you, April 6th is too soon. Plus, maybe that's too high end of a place for us. Urban Prime. We're talking about Urban Prime up in Vieira, Florida. That's in North Melbourne. We're going to have a big show with Joe Rodriguez on April 6th. And
yes, sir.
So
looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, I'm super excited. That is like my first actual car show.
Yeah, this will be your great.
My first. I've been to boat shows. I've been to boat shows that had like 30, 40 antique cars, but this will be my first going to a car show, enjoying a car show, and knowing some information about
it. Joe told me that the last time that Urban Prime put together a show, which is maybe 6 months ago, they had 6,000 people. Wow. Just spectators come to do this. But up in Vieira, they bring a different classic car than what we get down here. There's more money up on the beach in the Vieira area, but there's a lot of,
Well, we saw a real 427 Cobra last time we were up there. We saw a Lambo up there. There was a Ferrari up there.
Yeah. There were
Supras, several Supras up there.
Yeah, there were Skylines. There was everything. There was a monster truck. There was everything though. I mean,
Yeah.
it had everything. So I think that so maybe we'll hold off on that one, and we're going to do our booth with the whatever up there. We are going to do a podcast from there.
Yep.
This will be our second out of house podcast.
Yep. Second field trip.
We do have the Ethernet. We're going to try and go
Yep.
live. I'm going up there tomorrow to meet them and talk with them. And I think it's Chef. I'm going to say his name wrong, so I'll just say Edgar, but I know that's wrong. Econ, something, Chef Econ. So meet him on Sunday and talk about where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing and all that.
Yeah.
So we'll have a good head game going. But we were squirreling. But you started looking on Marketplace at a different type of car.
I did. So
And you just why getting back into the Camaro? Where did you?
So my mom had a Camaro, a third gen Camaro. My mom always loved Camaros. Since I was a little boy, that was her first new car purchase ever. Was a third gen Camaro. And I was a little bitty boy.
And she was young. She had help with her parents from buying that car, or what?
Well, no, she bought it on her own. My
Okay.
grandma was more than mad that she bought that. 'Cause she was, you know, we were living in my grandparents' house, so we were living with my grandparents. So,
Okay.
my grandma just thought that was very irresponsible to go out and buy a brand new car. And
You had to learn a 2-door sport
Yeah.
car or something, maybe.
And my parents were very young when I was born.
Okay.
And, you know, anyway, so she bought it and she loved it. And she always loved, till the day she died, she loved Camaros. The last car she had was one of the new Camaros. So she, you know, she always had a Camaro. She loved them. And so
Okay.
I was looking at third gens and I was like, man, they're really getting popular. And they started, you know, getting a little nostalgic, thinking about mom, you know. And I was like, you know, I'd really like to have, you know, a third gen Camaro.
And you're
So-
talking about adding something. You already do have Pearl, your C10. You Marcy's family, you have a
Yeah, Marcy's got the 56
coming.
Chevy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Timeline on that
Well,
this year? Will it come out here this year? Maybe.
it may be.
Okay. Okay.
The thing is, I don't want it to be outside.
No.
Hence the reason I need to build a shop,
Another garage. Just
another garage.
Right.
I have 2 garages and they're full, and so I need another garage,
Yeah.
A third.
a third garage, and that's fine. You know,
How many bedrooms does the house have?
5.
Well, then you've
Okay,
got-
okay. So
then
you
it
can
makes
have up to
sense.
5 garages.
Just can't have more garage than you have bedroom.
I agree,
right,
concur.
right.
Did you hear that, Marcy? We can have 3 more
But
garages.
I'm always on the wife's side when it comes to vehicles, guys.
So Marcy's biggest thing about before
That's
we
why
build a
I'm not
garage, Marcy wanted a new kitchen before we put up a garage.
Yeah.
So the kitchen should be starting in about 2 weeks.
Oh wow, yeah,
Get
that's
it.
great.
So the
That's
kitchen will
great.
get done, and then we can have a garage.
Yeah.
Yay.
More toys.
I love a
Yay.
great kitchen, man. I'm a former chef, and I love a kitchen.
So
Man.
I found and so when I was looking at third gens, looking for third gens, I didn't want I wanted an IROC. I was like, that's really what I want. They were only made from 85 to 90.
Okay.
For those who don't know, the IROCs were, so you had the Z28, which was your top of the line. Then above that, it was one trim level higher was the IROC. And, you know, for 85 and 86, I think it was more of just a badging, you know, type of thing, trim level stuff. But in the later ones from 87 to 90, you had better suspension, you had better sway bars, so it was lowered.
Yeah, they implemented the IROC Z28 and the IROC Z.
Yeah, so the IROC Z was a Z28 with just upgraded.
Okay.
Upgraded suspension, lowered suspension.
And that was only offered after 87.
for the suspension upgrades, yes.
Okay.
So after 87.
Now you've learned all this while looking
Researching, yeah.
Right.
I'm an inquisitive guy.
Right.
So I was like, well, I want an 87 or later IROC. And I wanted a 350 and I wanted T-tops.
A lot of them are 305s.
A lot of them are 305s.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, fun fact, and I didn't really realize this, the 305s were faster than the 350s in the quarter mile by like half a second or something. I know.
Wow.
Right? But the 305s had more torque, so they would beat them off the line. The 350s would beat the 305 off the line.
All right.
But the 305 ended up catching up and taking it in the long run.
All right. So the 305 was a throttle body.
It was a tune port injected, yep.
No, the 350 was a tune port.
305 was as well.
Was it?
Yep.
Wow.
Sure was.
I guess I thought that the tune ports were all 350s, 5.7 liters.
No, even a bunch of the 350s had a carb.
Wow.
Yeah.
Early. The
Early
85.
85,
Yeah,
86,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. They, I like the tune port injection. That is the next motor I'm building, an LT1 for Lucy, but a lot of people talk about they're not very tuner friendly They're hard to get dialed in, almost like a tri-power carburetor setup. You really got to get them going on the right thing. So that's kind of something too, that when you go into increasing and building and doing that, they change on. But I like the way they look. I like popping the hood.
Absolutely.
I like seeing that long cylindrical with the tubes coming off and the runners and all that.
And the little ram airs rolling up to it off the Camaro. Yeah. So I found something that was checking all the boxes. It was an 89.
Okay. Late.
So 89 IROC Z.
Yeah.
Fun fact, 89 was the only year they did not offer a Z28 package. It was an IROC Z. Okay. That was the only year. So they went back to it in 90. They had a Z28 and an IROC Z.
Okay.
So it was an 89, which I thought was super cool.
Okay.
It had a 350. It looked like it had 91,000 miles, but it is a 5-digit odometer, so it could have rolled over.
Yeah. I mean, no, it is possible, but here again, you can go back and look at what registrations have been done or something.
So it looked really, really good, and I was really excited about it. Talked to the guy, come to a price where he's like, "I'll take it for," he's like, "I'll sell it for $6,500."
Okay, all right.
I'm like, "Wow, well, come get this thing."
It looks clean, man. It looks pretty fair.
Yeah,
I mean, the pictures are beautiful.
I think we got some pictures of it.
Oh, that's the one from down south. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
there it is right there. So that's the one. Interior is beautiful. A lot of times, and people who look for these 80s cars, any 80s car really, the interiors are usually trash.
Yeah.
They weren't of the highest quality. Everything was super plastic back then, the fabric, and they just wore really, really bad.
Yeah.
And this interior looks really good, which, the dash doesn't look ate up. The steering wheel's not ate up. The seats aren't eaten up.
And it's light colored seats, and they're good looking.
Yeah, they look really, really good. I'm like, man, I really like this car. The only negative is there's crank windows, which really, really sucks. But
oh, wow. Yeah. Cool.
And I did get the VIN to run to make sure that this wasn't an IROC Z and not just somebody putting Z package stuff on
and
it.
it is?
It is an IROC.
Okay.
Yep. So in the next picture, you see, look, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really good. I mean, you had pictures of both sides, and we could see that there wasn't any damage. I mean, it looks like rust-free. Of course, these body kits, they hide the bottom corners and areas, so maybe that you get to, we're used to looking at cab corners, bottoms of doors, things like this, whatever. Yeah. It's all got a lot of plastic on it, but...
So I started talking to the guy. Now, a little history into Chris. I've played poker for almost 30 years.
Okay.
Played lots of it.
Hold'em, black?
Yeah, all kinds of poker.
Okay.
Well, through all those years, there's a few skills you get picking up.
Like body language and...
When you pick up with people and something just wasn't right. Like the things he was saying and what I was seeing are two different things, right? So I was like, let me peel this onion back a little bit.
Yeah, did he sound like a used car salesman? I mean, is this a private sale?
It's a private sale, yeah.
Okay.
You can flip it back to us there. There, look, see? Oh, you're talking about the tune port injected?
Yeah.
Look at that.
I like
ram
that.
airs coming out.
I like that.
Looks great.
Yeah, and instead of keeping, for me, when I go to modify to Lucy and I come off the throttle body, instead of having that small, the twin air filters, I want to put big ducts and put them down by the grill, the bumper, somewhere in that where I can suck a lot of air.
Yep.
But yeah, so the Camaro, you did not buy this yet?
No, I didn't. I don't think I'm going to.
Okay.
Because what he's saying versus what I'm seeing aren't matching up. I was asking him, I was like, hey man, so how long have you, because I asked him something about a couple things about the car and he just didn't give me really good answers. I was like, how long have you had it? And I don't care. I just want to know how long he's had it, if he just got it or whatever. And he's like, oh, it's been in the family since new. I'm like, well, that's awesome.
Wow.
Been in the family. If somebody else owned it, it still makes sense why.
You know the heritage, right? History of it.
Why you may not know a lot about it. And I was like, hey, so does it have any rust on it? We're right by the ocean. And this is West Palm.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, he's like, yeah, it's got rust in normal places. All right, can you shoot me some pictures of it? He's like, I could do that. It's all right. So I already had the VIN.
Oh, he hemmed and hawed though.
Yeah, he just didn't seem like too intrigued about it.
Okay.
And the rest of that day, it's radio silence. I didn't get anything from him. No pictures, no nothing. Now, this guy had been very responsive up until this point.
Okay.
So I looked at his profile on Facebook, and he has got no shorter than 20 cars listed and or sold in the last month. So he's buying and selling cars.
Okay. But people do that for a living.
But we can't judge because Kenny does that too.
Absolutely.
Right. That's
absolutely.
Right.
But that goes back to, this has been in your family since new?
Right.
Really?
Okay, so maybe he just came up and he's already doing this, but hey, he had a chance, hey, you do this, help us sell that car.
100%.
Right.
But then he's also an auto transporter. So maybe that's how he's getting a lot of these cars. Once again, whatever.
But
let me Carfax this car.
yeah.
It was born and raised and lived in Ohio
Oh,
until about a few years ago.
oh, so there's salt there too. From the
Okay,
road.
so explain
Worse-
that to
worse
me.
salt.
Why is that worse than living on the river where we have salt? Like,
So they
I
salt,
think of that and I'm like, ooh, no ocean right there. Yay.
That's right. That's right.
Well, they call it the Rust Belt for a reason.
Oh,
it
I didn't know that.
snows. It snows up there a lot, and they put salt on the roads.
Yeah.
The salt gets in the snow. The snow gets packed up in your wheel wells and
Okay.
up on your frame and sits there for months. Because how many people wash their cars in the winter?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, because it's the road grime is just so nasty. That
Well,
snow
and if
turns
you spray it with
black.
a hose and it freezes.
Yep.
Right.
So
Car
you
washes
just-
aren't even open during the winter.
You've
most
got
times.
salt
Right.
sitting, thawing and melting, or thawing and freezing, thawing and freezing, thawing and freezing, thawing and freezing.
Okay.
Baking in, basically.
Yep, you're baking it into the metal.
Yeah.
And then it just starts flaking off.
Stephanie's learning new things every day, guys.
Yeah, so Stephanie
Now,
is
not every car is that way. There's a lot of people up there who do take care of their cars. Because you said that some people have a summer car and a winter car.
That's correct. Yeah, a lot of them, if they've got a nice car, you don't break it out until the roads are clear and winter's gone.
Yeah.
And all of that. But for the people that are driving their cars, they hopefully still probably have a garage because you love to go pull into your garage and get out. The bad weather's out there, but heat from your house bleeds into your garage, and
Yep.
and so that would help bake the salt in. Stephanie, for people that don't know, is a California girl and a Hawaii girl, so she's
And
not
Maryland.
And where?
And Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah.
Well, then Maryland, it snows up north.
Yeah, but I was young. I never really
Okay.
realized that
So,
my
right.
car was getting ruined.
Yeah, so these machines go through and they throw salt out off this bent. It's a pinwheel kind of thing, and they just throw salt off, and your car picks that salt up and stores it right up in there in the little corner pockets and all up in the wheel wells, and it just makes
body mounts.
great place for salt. So the guy never got back to you,
And so
at
ever
all.
since that, it's been 3-4 days now, radio silence from this guy. Complete radio
And
silence.
the car's still up for sale.
Still for sale.
So he's waiting for a sucker.
Yeah.
Man,
And so if it was like 15 minutes from the house, I'd go check it out.
right.
But it's almost 2 hours from the house.
Man, well, I almost want to go down.
I do too.
With cameras rolling, just to expose the guy.
Well,
if
not
he's
even
flipping tons of
expose him.
cars, well, what's his rating? Is his rating a 3?
No, it was pretty high.
Really?
Yeah. That doesn't
But how
mean-
many people get their cars up on a lift and get to look at them?
Right. Well, not until
I mean,
they bought it
yeah.
and gone home. But even after you've gone home, you can rate the guy, right? Can't you rate
No,
somebody?
I don't know.
You rate him when you buy it, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
But man, that's just I feel bad that if the guy is trying to sell something that's not great, we don't like those
Well,
guys.
it's
Everything else.
always buyer beware, right?
It
You know what we
always-
should do?
even
Maybe,
at auction,
How about,
even
we're going to do a show on red flags
Ooh,
from sellers.
great.
Like, here's red flags. This is what you should look. You get this, walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Because there's a lot of red flags that I get from people.
Well, and being a female, like going to buy a car, I went with somebody to look at a motorcycle, and the guy literally told me factory zip ties, and and they were holding the fairings on.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that doesn't
Right.
sound right in my head, but okay.
But if you don't know, you don't know.
You don't.
And how many
And-
people go out with their kid to buy a car that aren't car guys? I mean, they're
Yeah.
dads.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. And that's how you learn. Sadly, that's how a lot of people learn is by getting shysted.
Yeah.
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 It is, and it's sad. It sucks. It is the way of the world, the way of life. So if you don't have anybody, find a mechanic that you trust and have them meet you at the mechanic shop, or have the mechanic come with you.
So since everything fell off, have you been looking at any other
I have.
Camaros? Marcy, you mentioned that she is on board with this.
So Steph was like, "How's Marcy feel about it?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Marcy said she would drive it every day to work."
Which I loved. I love that.
So
and that's good, right? Because I mean,
yeah.
she's got an Alpha, and it's a new car, and so she's got all the creature comforts of everything else, and
Yep.
and all that. We had a customer come in who has hit his tailgate and his back bumper and ruined it.
Oh, yeah.
He's had to redo. We've had to redo valve covers and vacuum pump and stuff. His brand new truck it's 5 years old now, but that cost $70,000. 65,000 back then before it really went stupid to 90 and 100.
Yeah.
These things are all loaded up with all the new stuff, and you just, I guess, we could talk about how you just feel so warm and snug when you're inside this new whatever and everything else, but that wears off, and at the end of the day you go back to what made you happy.
Yep.
in a long term something. We love our favorite pillow. We love that our bed. We move our bed around sometimes, but when it's in that place and we know it's up against that wall, you can just curl and do.
Marcy won't travel without her pillow.
I don't either. No, but the new wears off, but it is great to feel it and all that. Everybody, all the touch screen, this stuff, things, all that. But when it gets down to it, you like that old comfortable thing, and something about a car that you get
kind
in
of
brings you back.
With the old cars, it feels like to me because they sound like old slot machines when you turn the key and it bing, ding, 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 bing, 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 and everything's so tactile and click and snap, and then so you kind of feel like more a one with the car, I guess you could say. I don't know how to really describe it. All of you guys that like older cars, you understand.
Yeah, there's something.
And I think there's younger guys that are getting into it too. We had that comment I showed you. That guy was in his. So I'm reading this comment, right? And I'm like, this guy's a boomer. I'm thinking he's like in his 60s. Right? This guy's in his 60s.
Just off what he was saying. And then at his very last sentence, he's like, and I'm in my early 20s. I'm like, holy cow. He's like, I don't want all this and I don't want all that. He's like, I just want this. And with simple cars. And I'm like, man, that's amazing. Slow clap, slow clap. Before you had Pearl, which has manual windows.
Yeah, it's crank windows.
Okay, so before you had Pearl, how long had it been since you were Marcy were in a car that had
crank windows?
Crank windows.
Oh my gosh,
a long time.
A long time.
So when you get back into it, it's that first. When I took Ashley and her boyfriend in Lucy, he got to sit in the front seat for the first time. He did. He was like, "Hey, you put the window down." He didn't know. He hadn't been in a car that had manual windows. So as he did, he was like, "Oh, this is cool," and it's so lame because it's so basic. It's what we grew up with.
Yeah. I had one when I had my daughter. I had a Chevy Sonic.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a teeny little.
Yeah, like a Cavalier.
Like a Geo.
It was like what came after the Cavalier, and so I had that, and my Cavalier's windows, the motors kept going out nonstop. So my ex-husband was like, "No, you're getting this," and then I had a baby, and let me tell you, rolling that window down behind you with an infant. Oh, horrible.
That's funny.
Yeah. Diaper blowouts. It's no immediate release. With
not at all.
That's funny.
It's torture.
No, but these creature comforts, they wear off in the nostalgia sense of a new car. And now you've just got all this stuff that breaks or becomes a pain in the ass. Or I got in the seat the other day of a car and the guy had his seat heaters on. I had no idea. I'm just pulling the car in to do whatever. I'm looking. I'm scanning. I'm starting to sweat. I'm like, oh, what's going on here, man? My ass was on fire the whole day. On all three. And I'm like, click, 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 click.
That's funny.
But we like our old creature comforts, and so to get into the seat of something like Marcy has got her Alfa Romeo, and she can drive whenever she wants to. Be cool, and it's fast and responsive.
Very fast.
But you get into the old Camaro, and you just kind of feel it brings it back. It just makes you feel cool. It's
a little time machine. Nostalgia.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. That's why I am with Pearl, And
if you could go back in time to a year that was of cars, what would you want to see coming out new that you could like go and buy and test drive as like a new body? What excited you? Like what is your favorite car? I don't even know.
Favorite all time car.
Yeah.
It's probably a 57 Corvette.
57
specifically because it had the single headlight. The sides were smooth. They didn't have the little big chrome trim in the sides at the time. So
they still had the indentation, the big, but
they had the indent, but it was smooth. It was a smooth indent with the single headlight, not the dual headlight that came in 58. So yeah, 57 Corvette. I don't know. When I was a little boy, I was enamored with that car because it was so different than the other Corvettes. It just kind of, and I've always liked something a little bit different.
You were born in 80?
Yeah.
So wow. So I'm born in 66. So I'm 14 years, and my favorite is the 67 Corvette Stingray.
Oh, that's a good choice.
I love the hood.
Yeah.
I love the hood, and as Roy says, Roy's our painter, and he's NCRS certified, and he says Corvette corners are sharp. Kenny, they're sharp. They're not dull and rounded down. They're sharp. Like they want a corner that's like going to cut you. He says it's not literally, but and something about the way the hood is, and then it just goes flat, and then it goes out to the fenders, and they just do this boil over and come back down. Then they wrap around and tuck. I think they're lower than a lot of cars were. And they had gone through. They've now got a power brake or a power steering, and they've got a certain amenities, and they've gone through their trial and error of fuel injection and not or whatever. All multiple different engine sizes and stick and transmissions that you can do. The 67 was. I was born in 66. I like the 66. I love the 63 split window. But when it came down to it, my favorite would have been a 67 Corvette. I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford them. When I got into cars and started loving cars and everything else, I fell in love with the 70 Monte Carlo, the Gen 1 Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
And I had an old friend that used to say that's Grandpa's car. Those are Grandpa's sleds. Well, they're not Novas. They're not Camaros.
Yeah.
They're not Chevelles. So it was a big car. But
Yep.
just because it had 2-door, it wasn't necessarily cool. It was
But
like
you
the
were
Caprice
born in
or
like the peak muscle car area. Like I was born in '80.
Yeah.
The cars in '80s, the Camaro the Camaro, the IROC Z, the performance Camaro had 215 horsepower, man.
Right.
So I mean,
right.
it is with emissions were coming on and just choking everything out. So even us '80s babies, we still looked at those muscle cars. When it comes to muscle cars, I'm a Mopar guy. I like Cudas a lot. I really like Cudas. I like the older Pontiac GTOs, the '60s GTOs. I really like those.
Yeah, you're not the mainstream guy. You kind of have a different eclectic to the things that weren't everyday seen.
Yes.
I just could not. When I got really into gear stuff, there was no way I could ever own a Chevelle or Camaro because everybody had one.
Yeah.
It just was. And I'm 6 foot 200, and I wanted a car that was big. And man, I had a white 70 Monte. I'll pull up some pictures one day and everything else. And my kids were raised in her and everything else. And I actually know where that car is. It's up by Ocala in the Springs, and I could probably go get that car back. What would it be like to buy back
what was it?
A 70 Monte Carlo? I bought it when I was first married at 20 years
old.
Go
buy it. I've been on the search for my grandpa's truck. Remember?
Yeah.
And what's the quality of it now? Do you know?
Oh, I wrecked it. I put a front clip on it. I sold it to a friend who has sold it to a neighbor. He moved up from the beaches of Clearwater. He moved up, Captain Mike Tracy, and he's doing riverboat tours up in the sponge docks. And he sold it to a neighbor, and it's just sitting in the woods. Sitting in the woods.
It's better than sitting on the river.
Yeah, which is what it would happen to it if I bought it.
Oh,
so I've known for the last 5 years, I've known it's there, and I haven't made an attempt to go buy it. I could buy it pretty cheap. It's, if somebody else sees it, they think they're going to go buy it. It's probably pretty bad. But I remember the car. I know the car, and I know I could bring it back and do, but I've already got a 70 Monte that needs everything and so many other projects. And I don't, it was me and my wife's car and all this. And my kids, if they saw it, they'd probably flip out or something. But I don't know. know. Something's kept me from wanting to go back and try to think that it was something to buy and do.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, but like I said, I've been looking for my grandpa's truck that was when after he passed, everybody wanted that truck because everybody learned to drive in it, and my uncles and aunts and me included, and so my grandma sold it to a guy in Texas because she couldn't pick in the family who should have it, so she just got it out of the family.
Okay, instead of upsetting somebody else or whatever, playing faves or whatever it was, it was gone. So you look to see what you can find, and
I'm trying to find it for about a year now.
We see people that research this, and I guess that there's probably websites you pay to have you help find where they've been registered and who owned last what, this and that. And I see stories on the internet sometimes about people being able to track down their old rides and stuff.
Do they do that using the VIN, or like how do you
registration, state registrations? Yeah, you follow the car by its identification marks. Yeah. And then
it's hard with those older ones too. Not specifically my grandpa's, but the older cars didn't even have like VINs like we have now.
No.
Some didn't even have VINs back. Really old ones don't even have a VIN. And then when they started putting VINs on them, they're like a 13 digits now.
Yeah.
Back then it was like 6.
A 17
yeah,
now.
I've noticed that.
Oh, 17 now.
Well, I think they're going into 18 now and 26s.
Maybe because I was looking at one that was 13 digits, and they're like, "Oh, you're missing some." I'm like, "No, this is it. This is all I got."
We go to type it into our program at work, and it says that it's waiting for more letters.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and I like I said, new to this whole realm. I'm typing it in. I'm like, nothing's coming up. What do I do?
So with Ken's truck, you have to put it in manually. We had to enter it in manually as much information we could go off of and do. Sometimes we call the dealer for picking down stuff, but there are things you pay off for on the internet where you go in and you decipher a VIN and all of that. But maybe it would be fun down the road to go and find the old Monte Carlo.
That'd be cool.
Her name was Highway Star. And,
Highway Star.
Yeah, there's a song by Deep Purple called Highway Star. So
Chevy
it might be cool.
Chevy's getting rid of an iconic model after 50 years.
They're dumping a model?
Yep.
No, it's Chevrolet, not General Motors, but it's Chevrolet. Okay.
This model has been around for 50 years.
Well, that sounds like a trivia question. I don't
know.
It's Chevy Malibu.
Oh, wow. The Malibu. Well, okay, because the Malibu was, right. So it came in 70?
So, yeah, I mean, the last 25 years, it's been a...
I guess 65. I mean, I think it was 65. Would have been 50 years?
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I'm thinking of the Chevelle, the Malibu Chevelle. Boy, has it changed.
Oh, tons.
Yeah, it became a front-wheel drive family like the Monte Carlo did.
Yeah. Now it's just it's a throwaway car.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think my cousin or someone has one.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, you think of the Malibu for the past 25, 30 years, you're like, I don't care.
But they're getting rid of it. They're replacing it with something. I mean, they pick something else up on the line.
I don't know if they're. I mean, I guess technically it is being replaced by something, but the factory where the Malibu was built is now building EVs. It's building the Chevy Bolt EV.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess you could technically say it's been replaced by an EV. Which I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird to me that people are still. And I am not against EVs. I'm against everything being in an EV.
I'm pro hybrid.
I'm pro options.
Okay.
When you say hybrid, do you mean the plug-in hybrid or do you mean the hybrid gas?
I do not mean the plug-in hybrid. I mean the gas engine.
Yeah, that's
and
what I like.
Hybrid, and it has its own battery and ability to charge and do. And I think they make a lot of sense that when you don't need that, you are cruising on a battery and electric motor, and you're saving a lot. And these hybrids are 50 miles a gallon, and I think that they're smart and they're very economical, and for a good reason. I've never owned one, and I don't plan on it because I'm an ICE guy, and
I do.
I just feel like I'm always going to be a combustible engine type of driver. I want to feel it. I don't want an electric car with a little noise speaker that goes outside. I don't.
What car was that we were talking
It's
about
a
that did
Charger.
that?
The Charger, yeah.
Electric Charger. But even Dodge has pulled back a lot from commitment on that. We've talked about Jaguar going full electric and everything I've said. I want to follow up on Jaguar. We saw this out at Ford's Garage when we did a car show at the beginning of the year, and we were blown away to learn that Jaguar has gone all electric in 25. And I want to do a mid-year report and an end-of-year report and see what
I want to see their sales
are like.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go down.
Oh, 1,000% they're going down.
So the commitment by Chevrolet to keep the Bolt, which the Bolt's been around, we've looked that up previously.
9 years.
Since 2016. So they are committed to this and they're keeping it. But they're not expanding. They're not doing 70 models of this or what. They do have an electric Hummer.
They do.
I don't know that they're doing electric pickup. I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
Right. So I mean, I think that this is they're in the field. They're trying
And
to
how are
please
tariffs?
everybody. Choice.
How are tariffs going to impact all of these decisions now?
Yeah.
25%,
Yeah.
you know?
This is where you show that we're not professional
News
we're
anchors.
good old boys. So we didn't start off the lead.
That's why we're behind the hood of a car.
Breaking news. No, Donald Trump came on earlier this week. This is Saturday morning, and he came on Wednesday and dropped not an F-bomb, but just
A T-bomb.
a T-bomb. Man,
Tariffs.
25% on all cars, all automotive, everything. You were going to clarify me.
Yeah, parts. Any part coming from Mexico, coming from Canada, coming
Made
from Jamaica.
Overseas.
So it's
Yeah.
going to affect
I almost
all
said Jamaica.
cars. And they said on average, what is it, like at the minimum at the bottom, like 3,500 for all, even cars
So-
made in America, because not all the parts
Yes.
are made in America.
That's correct.
So I was reading, and it was like some cars are being built here, but then they're getting transported to Mexico, then coming back, and then getting transported back, and then coming back. So cars are going to be anywhere from 3,500
We talked
dollars
over-
more
Why would they
expensive
do
to
that? Why would you build a car here, move it to Mexico, and bring? Why would you transport it so many times?
Right. Well, I think you're going
It's
down.
crazy.
You're putting in interiors and engines because
Man, that just seems so cost
Trump went out
prohibitive.
and said that a lot of these plants, a Nissan, stuff like this, that have come over, they're trying to build here and cut down on shipping costs, cut down on dock wear and everything else, but that they aren't building the whole car here. But their plants are only about 60% efficiency. So he said he's done his homework. Like the Gulf of America, everybody thinks this is a joke and whatever. Biden went in and said, "Hey, no drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. Rename it." All those laws that Biden made are gone, and you're now drilling day one in the Gulf of America.
Yeah,
and that's what he was. He's not an idiot. He's a great businessman. He's a dick maybe, but he's not a.
Yeah, I mean he's
not an idiot.
Yeah, you don't become a billionaire by being stupid.
That's right. So even though his dad gave him his first $1 million. I could have run
could
through
blow that.
When I was in my 25s, I could have blown through $1 million
blow
in
it quickly.
fucking weekend.
Yeah.
So for them to sit there and to implement this tariff, and knowing that they just went through everything else that made the market hurt in his first 6 weeks of doing everything, he's not worried about that. He's just doing what he's got to do. Doge has already come in and saved a ton. They're going through. They're finding bridges and stuff that are bad in all the towns and cities. We're picking up on infrastructure. They want America to build in America. You keep the steel factories here. You keep the oil here. You're building here. You're growing here. You're doing here. Now, what they're doing with the illegals, that's going to hurt the farmers market somewhere in all this, and they've got to find a balance on a lot of that. But I think if you take care of the problem, then you can bring it back to where they are coming in for work seasons and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fix things without feeling some growing pains.
Change. That's
you
right.
can't.
No.
Change inevitably comes with pinch
Pain.
points.
Right. You're a 4-year-old kid and you're at home, and all of a sudden mom says, "I'm pregnant." When you turn 5, you've got a sister.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
And it
Yeah.
sucks for a minute, and then you're fine.
Right. So going into all these changes, it does hurt to grow. But at the end of the day, if everything is built here and done here, you've got more control. Now you go to war. China just hits Taiwan, and now all of a sudden we've got everything cut off with China, and we don't care because we've got it all here.
How long do you think it would take, like just ballpark figures in your brain, how long do you think it would take us to be able to handle building cars here and it not make a stink on?
No, it's going to take a while. I mean, I'm no
More
expert
than
in the
Trump's
field
term.
either.
More than Trump's
Yeah,
term.
yeah.
This is a 5. Now listen. So if a Dem comes in and changes it all, does it go right back to nothing and we don't get the chance?
Right.
Because we're back and forth swing so much.
These pendulum swings, it's got
They're
to stop.
drastic.
We're so extremes left and right. Look, I'm a
Yeah.
4th generation Floridian. We're not going to get too politic, but there's got to be this hood has a line down the middle. somewhere we want to gather a little bit closer to this. But the change is for one reason, and that is to keep it here where you have more control. If you have a 500-acre farm and 200 head of cattle and 2 people working it, you're going to lose some cattle, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep what you got here. Keep it to where you can corral it a little bit better and make it work better for you.
I agree.
And then when world stuff does happen, when COVID came, Chevrolet had to stop making Corvettes because they couldn't get the chips that were in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And they were sitting there. They were sitting, thousands of them in Texas, thousands of them were sitting waiting for
Not
chip.
just Corvettes, but tons of cars.
Yeah. A chip.
Cars, houses, so many different things.
Yeah.
Everything.
We stopped that. And if people will think about it.
I will say Americans are very resilient. So the pain part, I think we'll get over a lot faster than the logistic getting squared away part.
Glass half full guy. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Americans are so lax. We could get sneak attacked in the middle of the night. Our power infrastructure, our grids are also susceptible. We are a lax nation. We are very comfortable. We've gotten very comfortable being number one. That we're lax. My opinion.
We could have a huge discussion
I was
about
like,
that.
this could go on and on.
Yeah,
That's
a lot of
show on a different
So
channel.
what are they already doing? Do you guys know what anybody like BMW, Ford, General Motors, what are they doing to prep for this? I know Ford alone has semi trucks right now. They just bought dozens upon dozens of semi trucks that they're loading up to bring to the warehouses that they just purchased or rented in Michigan and Ohio.
Really?
Yeah.
They're
So I
pulling
know
stuff-
that they're doing that.
They're
So
pulling stuff out of Mexico.
yeah. So they're trying to pull it out of the 3 plants in Mexico to bring it to these Michigan and Ohio warehouses. But what's everybody else doing?
Well, Trump gave Ford, because Ford jumped right out and said, hey, okay, we're going to get on board and we're going to start turning it around tomorrow, because they're the ones that went down. They were the ones that big and public went down. We're building plants in Mexico. Almost this. And they went down 7 years ago, and started building and producing it all down in Mexico. So when they heard that this is Trump, and here again, when he took office, a lot of people knew changes could start happening. So they started getting ready for it. Put your dirty shoes on. And so he gave them an extra 30 days.
Yes.
He gave Ford an extra 30 days because they already jumped into action on it. A pat on the back. You get a reprieve from the governor because you're going to already show initiative. Now that's getting on board.
Yeah.
That's acceptance. Makes your growing pains less.
And that just tells you Trump is not like a hardliner. He's somebody. He's like, I'll work with you, but this has got to happen.
It's got to happen.
Yeah, I
It's
got
gotta
to see
happen.
something
Yeah.
in return. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy what's going to be going on and all of this. Cars, what it says is that there's never a dull moment in this industry. We had a customer that called
Yesterday, he called back too.
What was he talking about? His car? What car was that? This is. There's so many of them. This is not the 65 Mustang of Pamela Anderson's. We have Pamela Anderson's 65 Mustang at the shop.
Not the Pamela Anderson.
We don't know. She's old. She could have been the one. She told us she wasn't, but we don't know. What does Pam Anderson look like now? Anyway. So he called and I said, look, he was going to bring me the car on April 8th. And I said, tariffs go into effect April 2nd. If I were you, I would start buying as much as you can now and save that, because everything's coming from China, whatever you're doing. So he's like, holy cow.
Yeah, he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah. I was like, what? I said, they're implementing 25. So you're going to pay an extra 25. He goes, well, by the time I'm done that, it's going to be 35% because of the shipping and stuff that you do and whatever else. So yeah, so I told him, start now.
So he called back and he was like, hey, get me in as soon as you can. Can you get me in sooner? And I was like, sorry, the 8th.
Well, we told him that we could start
try
buying
to order
some parts and whatever. And so I think we have to get together with him on Monday. I'm drawing a blank on what it is.
It's written down on my desk. That's what I know.
Yeah, right. So, but it's that it is affecting us already. It is affecting us already.
Yeah, I'm here for the ride.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to break out of the seriousness of the news and the world and all this stuff, and we're going to let Stephanie try and stump us. We're going to see. I've asked Stephanie to, and let's see if we can answer any of them. But if we can, let's see if we can do it in a Jeopardy style of answer.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
I'm not.
You've got a fifth grader. I've got a fifth grader at home.
Yeah.
We could bring them in one day and have them stump us on car questions. Man,
I feel like my daughter would be like, what has 4 wheels? That would be like her question for you guys.
Did you see all these spring break kids getting quizzed this past week? All those over socials?
No.
After seeing that, I'm glad they dismantled the Department of Education. Man, there are some stupid kids out there.
Well, that's man, we could get back into a whole other show. But,
right.
God,
I think the change is good. Yeah.
All right, guys. First question. The first speeding ticket was issued when?
But, they've had cars for a long time. I would go back and say there was a dumbass way back even, because I remember people with them bicycles and they were breaking big wooden wheels, and so but always jumping a ramp if you had one.
My mind automatically goes to like the 50s.
I'm gonna go. I would say my dad was born in 27, so I'm gonna go with 1927.
No.
Oh wait. Okay, you already said. I heard an 8.
1896.
What were they driving?
First, guess what the speed limit was?
5.
In 5. I mean, that's a round number.
Walter Arnold was fined for driving 8 miles per hour in a 2 mile per hour zone in Kent, England.
Oh, England.
A policeman,
2 mile an hour.
a policeman had to chase him down on his bicycle to issue him a ticket.
How do you judge the speed?
And do you have a siren?
2 to 8.
Do you have a siren on your bike?
He's probably he's England. He's blowing his whistle.
Yeah. But your speed limit is 2. Now we're walking at 2.
Right? Like,
All right.
How does he know he's going 8?
Will they have speedometers?
Of course not.
no.
How did the bicycle know that?
Yeah, that's what I'm
He
saying.
just knew.
He was like, I can't pedal that fast.
Yeah.
So
Right. If it's faster than walking speed, you're speeding.
It had to have been that.
But
he
think
must have passed by somebody who was walking. He's like, oh, that's too fast.
So how few of people had cars back then, and how many people are still on feet or
There's no
horse?
way it was a car.
Oh yeah, this is cars.
It said car.
This is a car.
It says first car speeding ticket.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'd love to find out. We're gonna go back and
Yeah,
find out what that is.
I'll look it up more.
18 what?
1896.
My grandmother was born in.
I'm an inquisitive guy.
Okay, yeah. So he wants to.
This is from a Googling.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I just want to do a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So the Mustang almost had a different name. There were several different names that it could have had. I will take any of those names it could have had.
Well, give us. You got a rundown of like what the possibilities were.
They were all animals.
Maybe. I don't know if the middle one was.
Okay.
So there's 3 possibilities.
Okay.
So do you have any clue of
Well,
any of the
one
3?
was the Mustang. No, I don't have a clue. I mean, Mustang was. I mean, there was a comment, so it wasn't that. I don't have a clue, and I'm not a big Ford guy, so I don't have a lot of history on all these things. But no.
The Cougar.
Which they end up making a Cougar.
Okay, so Mercury,
Just Ford.
sister company, built a Mercury. Yeah. And in the '67, the Mercury came out in '67, so they sat on that name
For
then
2 years.
after for
a while,
okay.
yeah,
All right,
okay.
cool.
The Panther.
And I want to say there was a Mustang Panther edition.
Okay.
Was there? I've never heard of it.
So they went with a Mustang over Cougar.
Over Cougar, Panther, or Torino.
A
Torino. Which they ended up building a Torino
the
as
Ford
well.
Torino was in '70s. I don't think there was a 60-something model of the Torino. I think it was '70. So that's funny that they had names out there that they sat on and didn't just throw away as bats, and they actually saved and said, I liked that before. Let's throw that into this car. That's cool. Good question.
Okay, so what inspired Ferrari's logo?
Man, I don't know any of these answers.
The Italian Stallion.
That's
Rocky.
Chris, I thought
Rocky,
you might
yeah.
know this one, though.
Sylvester Stallone.
That's a
That's
horse.
funny.
It's a stallion.
I feel like this is up your alley.
Why? Because does he look Italian?
I am Italian.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
Well, but I'm not because he's Italian, because of the airplanes.
Well, there's a hint.
Okay,
No, I feel
so
stupid. See?
Ferrari logo was inspired by a Italian fighter pilot.
In what year was that?
I don't know the year.
Okay.
But it was World War I.
Okay, wow, early on.
So he had a prancing horse painted onto his plane, and Enzo Ferrari adopted it as a symbol of power and speed. So yes, the horse, but because it was on the plane.
The plane.
Yes.
Wow.
I like gee-whiz information.
So the plane makes you think about the Mustang, which is the P-51 Mustang.
P-51 Mustang.
You as an aircraft mechanic, you have a story about a P-51.
I'm familiar with them.
Yeah?
Yes. Actually, everybody, I got to fly in an F-16. I've flown in a lot of different airplanes, believe it or not. I was on an air show circuit for 2 years, my last 2 years in the military. But I actually got to fly in a P-51 Mustang as well. And a lot of people, I tell people the story, like, yeah, I flew in a P-51, like, oh, you can't, it was a single-seater, yada, yada. Yes, they were a single-seater. There was a lot of radio equipment behind the pilot, which were obviously very large boxes back then for World War II, that they don't, you can have radios the size of this now. And so they took a lot of this stuff out, and these are privately owned now. These P-51 Mustangs are privately owned now. And they want their spouses to fly with them. So they take all that stuff out and they just put like a little metal seat in there.
A pan.
The one I was in was just a metal pan. Some people will, make it a little bit more comfortable for the missus. But this guy didn't have a wife. He just, had stuff. He'd put his suitcases back there. And he's like, hey, man, you want to go for a ride? I'm like, does a bear shit in the woods? And we went up, man. It was awesome. We were doing dive bombing routes like you would in World War II. We were going over the river. It was up in Missouri. And so it was a blast. So,
Well, there was a little criteria, and I know this is car class, but let's just get into this because I love the story. there's some criteria as to getting in this airplane and the safety features there that are not acquainted to this airplane.
Yeah, I had to wear a parachute. He's like, you have to wear a parachute. It's insurance mandates that. I'm like, sounds good to me, man. Don't care. So I did wear a parachute because there's no ejection seats.
And when you put the parachute on,
yeah, he's like, yeah, you're probably not going to end up using it anyway because you're not going to be able to get out if anything goes bad. I'm like, that's fair. Then I was like, I'll take that risk, and I was fine. I'm still here.
That's funny. That's awesome. No, I love it, man. I'm jealous because when I was growing up in 1976, bicentennial year, I got to redo my year. I was 10 years old. My parents said, "Hey, you can do the room the way you want to." We went to the carpet store and got a bicentennial shag carpet, and I painted my ceiling blue with a lot of clouds, and I built model airplanes. My dad designed. He was on the team of the design the Minuteman missile, and he designed the aft section of the B-52 bomber. So I built this in the P-51, and I built the 29 Mitchell.
Yep.
And had some great planes and had them fishing line and at different dogfight areas, and that was my room for 5 years anyway.
That's awesome.
So I discovered Jim Morrison and girls.
Yeah, I like those old classic airplanes too.
I loved them.
I've been to a bunch of the air museums and listened to the engines fire up and all that.
Wow. I haven't.
You're missing out.
Yeah. Next question.
Okay, next question is the fastest speeding ticket. So we did the slowest.
Well, what was the first?
We did the first speeding ticket. What is the fastest speeding ticket?
Ever recorded like in the
United States?
Ooh.
Recorded.
Because you got the audible on it, so you think Germany is going to be, they're banging.
Fast. And I've driven on that too. And
so I know I saw a Hellcat Red Eye get tagged by a cop the other day in a chase at 200 and some miles an hour, 211 or 201 or somewhere in there. It was flying. So
I can't imagine going that fast.
So speeding, I'd say 206 miles an hour. I don't think anything can go faster.
I would say 215 personally.
That's stupid crazy, dude.
Insanely fast.
And on a road that's going to turn, how are you not going to kill yourself?
Yeah, your reaction.
Well, and what is stops? Like, how do you stop?
It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Well, I took a Corvette on a test drive at 168 miles an hour. I let the customer know, he knows that, but 168, and I was able to get up and stop. It had big brakes, and you get up and you go. 8-speed transmissions, man. Anyway, but so I mean, 215 and
242
242
in
miles
Texas, 2003. A CC 85.
A CC 85. I might have to look that up. I don't know what that is.
It's a Swedish vehicle.
Wow.
I'll throw some photos up here of this.
Yeah.
Okay, because we don't have it, and I'm a little weird by that, man.
242 miles an hour.
242 in 2003, Texas.
This guy go to jail? I'm sure.
I'm not sure, but I would say, yeah, probably.
No, I mean they'd impound the car. They'd take the car. This would be. I mean, you'd be.
Does that mean it then goes to an auction?
Yeah, but if you own that Swedish car and you're doing 242 miles an hour, you had somebody buy it back. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I am a big fan of Dale Earnhardt. I've raced and everything else young, and I'm a car guy. I was designated by the state of Florida back in 2004 a habitual traffic offender. I lost my license for the period of 5 years.
Sure.
And every time I repaired a car, I had to have my boss go drive it for me. Hey, great quality control.
Yeah.
He said it was good.
Yeah, that's true.
I was off the hook on everybody.
And it got you to follow directions maybe a little with speed? No.
I just look further down the road for the police.
Okay.
Don't try this at home.
Not recommended.
So is there more?
There is one more.
Okay. We've gotten 0 so far.
Yeah.
So next time we're going to have somebody else write the questions.
What vehicle was made in just 2 days?
You go.
No, it's the Jeep. Jeep Wrangler.
What was it?
It was the Jeep.
Yeah, because the Army.
Okay.
The Army.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, so
you think the Army built something in 2 days?
Absolutely.
They built the Army in 2 days.
49 hours. 49 hours they built in World War II. The Army requested a light vehicle, and that's what they got. They got this Jeep prototype.
I'm calling it. We're throwing that game because 49 hours is 2 days and 1 hour.
Ooh, this is true.
Such a
But
stickler.
the Jeep was a basic. If we're talking, I don't even know
Utilitarian,
what year the Jeep came
yeah.
in.
It was, and it was in a crate, and it was shipped out, and then you put it together like Legos when it got to where
That's
it was
kind
at.
of cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Built in pieces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure was.
And what year was the Jeep implemented? Was that 39s or 38?
don't-
Was it in the 40s?
I'm gonna say the 40s.
It was for war purpose.
Yeah.
It was built for war purpose.
full
Yeah.
war.
And the thing was built in Germany for war purposes.
Yeah.
know that?
Yeah.
The
The
thing.
Volkswagen thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Now
Yep.
it came out before the Jeep. Hitler was
Yeah.
way before that first bit because he was doing pole and everything back in the
I will say that the Jeep looks a lot better than the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I own a Jeep now. The Jeep has changed, man. It's really changed.
Yeah.
They've gotten crazy with what they do now with everything. But wow, that's crazy. 2 days. I would have gone with a Yugo.
I don't know what a Yugo is. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
My brother was in a big accident. My brother-in-law was in a big accident in a Yugo once. So
Yeah, they're not great cars.
yeah, no. So all right. Well, anybody got anything? It's been an hour. We've been holding these people up and whatever, and they've been good enough to
Man,
sit
if you
there and
guys
hang
watched
out
it
with
for
us.
an hour, I salute you.
I can't do that. So yeah, we do thank you guys. This is where we whore ourselves out for just a quick second and say we appreciate you tuning in. We do this because we're car guys. We're hanging out and having fun, bringing you some news or stories or whatever else. But it is your comments, it is your likes, it is your pushing the button to subscribe that makes us be able to come back and do this again and again, over and over, redundant as hell. So thanks.
Yep. Like, subscribe, do all the things.
Yeah,
Hit
yeah.
all the buttons.
Yep. And as the music plays us out, we're going to tell you we appreciate you and we hope you have a great, blessed week. And come back next time and we'll be here and we'll do it all over again, Chris.
Yeehaw.
All right. Take care and God bless, guys.